Hello, everybody. You are listening to Grok.IT, the place where we discuss all the latest news in tech, video games, other web shenanigans. Hope you enjoy. I am Brandon, and
I
this
am
is.
infamous. Oh wait, I'm Spot.
How do you even pronounce this? Ouya?
You know what? I think it is Ouya, and actually, I don't mind saying I think it's a dumb name. And it's
You
only
can't pronounce
because
it.
exactly that's why. In my experience, when you're naming things, and I've worked with people who are good at naming things and people who are not really good at naming things. I think I'm kind of in the middle. But the one thing is, if you're gonna have something that people are gonna have trouble figuring out how to, if someone has to ask how is that pronounced,
Yeah.
you've probably screwed up.
Like, people
So.
aren't going to remember this as, like, some amazing thing. They're going to be like, hey, remember that console that had a really weird name?
Yeah, exactly.
The Ouya.
I'm sure that we'll get, half the people who actually listen to this, assuming anyone actually listens to it, half the people would probably be two. And they'll come back with some great examples of extremely hard to pronounce names, which are massive. I mean, well, actually, if we want to think about that, let's see. Nike might. I mean, it's very familiar to us now, but Nike.
I guess
so.
so.
That's not too much,
I mean, I guess anything in the English language, someone can be like, oh, because English is such a hard language, whatever.
Is
But
Ouya an actual English word?
no, I think they mashed their hand on the keyboard, and they're like, there we go. That's
Actually,
what we should do with the name of this podcast. Now they all know that we don't have a name for this yet, and so all of you people listening, tell us.
Hand smashing works better for me as a description, as a reason, than what I'm afraid that they actually did, and they did it because they think it sounds like "ooh yeah," because that
gosh,
really bad.
Okay, to anybody who needs a name for something, don't ever do that because it will immediately. I don't care how great your product is, I won't buy it.
There's a company I'm thinking of that did that, and nobody even knows who they are now, and that was Yahoo.
Oh gosh, I remember those commercials, and I remember thinking, man, could they really not think of anything better?
Well, they really embraced it. I mean, like, what's his name? I'm horrible with names. Was the Chief Yahoo?
Yeah,
that's a title.
And now they have a woman in there now or something.
Marissa Meyer. I'm a fan, actually. I'm a fan of Marissa Meyer.
Yeah, well, I like one thing I read, that when she goes into that company, that anybody who's getting hired, she reads every resume.
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
I'm a fan. So, does the industry need more independent platforms? Absolutely.
Oh.
No, absolutely.
No, I think that this is just going to be a waste of time. I think.
No. But that's not what I said.
Okay.
It's not that it may be a waste of time, but the current platforms, the consoles, right? Mm-hmm. They're walled gardens completely.
I guess.
Right? They do everything that they can to keep people off the platform. Obviously, Microsoft is far worse at it than Sony, but Microsoft always has been. And by worse at it, I mean they do it more. They're better at it, actually. But yeah. So do we need more indie platforms? Yeah. Indie console specifically, right? The indie console, being something that hooks up to your television and you don't have to think about what type of hardware you have. All the things that the anti-PC gaming people moan about all the time. So yes, we need it. Is it the Ouya? I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, so here's the problem with Ouya. People are all touting it as like it's like an Android-based gaming.
That's my problem.
Thing. And well, here's the thing. That's going to turn it into, you're going to have, okay, and so, by the way, everybody, I apologize that you're about to hear this side of me. Spot's probably gotten used to it, but that means I have my Android phone here right now, and top paid game apps, draw something, cut the rope, where's my parry? And this is the games that it's going to come out with, is silly little app games that really don't contribute anything to gaming at all. Like, I absolutely love the idea of like a third party, group coming together and saying, this isn't done in gaming, nobody's taken this step yet, let's do it because we're not controlled by Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo or yada yada. That's great. But the fact that it's being touted as Android backed means that we're going to just get a bunch of flick golfs or Unos on this box. And that just, the quality
I don't know.
Crap.
I see where you're going with that, but I don't think that's actually going to be the case. I mean, here's the deal. I think the reason that we get more games like that on the mobile stuff has a lot to do with mobile than it does the operating system, right? I mean, obviously the operating system is mobile, right? So that's duh. But there's certain design limitations that you have to have with, let's say, somebody's holding a phone, right? You have control limitations, which is why I don't like most mobile gaming, especially in the action-based gaming, because I can't stand virtual controls. They're horrible.
Oh, yeah.
In my personal humble opinion, maybe not so humble. And also, you have to assume that if somebody's using a phone, that they don't have a lot of time, right? So usually games aren't as in-depth, or if they are, they're built to where they can be played in little segments and blah, 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 and so you get a more dumbing down in a lot of cases. I think that we've actually seen that changing more. It's not very quickly, but more as tablets are becoming more present. But there's still more phones out there than there are tablets. So when somebody's creating a mobile
phones are getting more powerful too.
Sure, yeah. But with a tablet is it lends itself to gaming more than a phone does. I mean, like when I say gaming, I mean specifically non-hyper casual gaming, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, Minecraft, have you played Minecraft on a phone? It is horrible.
No,
not because it's implemented horrible, but because it's on a freaking phone.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there's a huge difference, though. Would I play Minecraft on a controller? Well, I don't really like first-person stuff on a controller at all, but I would probably play it a lot sooner than I would with virtual controls on a tablet. And the Ouya will be hooked up to your TV because it's a console. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, and there's already been publishers and developers that have said that they're going to push stuff out to the Ouya or convert older games that they have to the Ouya. So I think that the whole point is the reason the apps you're seeing and the ones you're using as examples are the main ones that exist are because there hasn't been a console for any games in that operating system to go to, right? So I think that it will change things. Now, what I have a concern over is Android, because Android just doesn't seem like a very good game platform. Now, it makes perfect sense if you have it as a mobile operating system, so it's running these mobile devices, and then you want to put games on it because that's not the only thing the mobile device is for. But it wouldn't, like, I don't see Sony releasing their next handheld and it's running Android. Maybe I'd be surprised, but it just seems strange, right? So I don't know. I see, unless they have a chipset that's built specifically for running Android code, which, unless I'm mistaken, is primarily Java based.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
I don't see them, like, I don't see you ever, and I don't think they're going for this either, but I don't see you ever having an Unreal 4 engine game, or even 3, running on the Ouya. So, and I think we've spent way too much time on this.
Yeah, speaking of being fired.
Good segue.
Thank you.
Nice.
I've actually, for like the past 2 minutes, I've been like, hey, what is he gonna say that I can use? So Donglegate.
This dongle thing, I didn't even find out about this until you put it on the talking points list, and I'm like, what is that? And you're like, well, it's blah blah. I'm like, what is that? And you're like, never mind, I'll take it off. But
which I'm surprised that you haven't heard of this.
And I've been working so much, I've been in a freaking hole, man. Yeah, you sent me the TechCrunch, and I'm like, I think what was I said, wow, is this serious? Because
it's ridiculous.
I am extremely hardcore women equality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing of them not being paid enough pisses me off. I think women can do anything a man can do just as good. In some places, quite a bit better when it comes to, multiple things. There's this line where you don't go extremist, on. It's just, I don't know. It's this entire thing was just.
If something bothers you, I understand that. I understand wanting it to get brought up and everything. But she tried to be PyCon's Batman and be her own vigilante.
Yeah, they weren't even talking to her.
No.
They weren't even talking to another woman.
They were
That's the
talking
whole
to
thing.
each other.
Yeah, it just... And, I mean, obviously, they're at this conference. Obviously, they weren't talking out loud.
Yeah.
They were probably whispering-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't... I'm not going to go on record and say, they can say that, that's fine. They probably shouldn't have said it. But honestly, for me, the reason they shouldn't have said it is because of crap like this. Seriously. They weren't even saying anything about a woman.
Yeah.
At all. They weren't talking to her. They weren't talking to a woman. They weren't even saying anything about a woman. They were making a language pun joke, right? About
a dongle.
About the penis, more or less, right? And it's like, because no one knows what those are. Think about now, in the future, the amount of people that aren't going to be exposed to the creativeness of comparing a dongle to a penis.
I know. You know what? I hope my kid never has to grow up in that world.
Me too.
My kid's middle name is going to be Dongle.
I wouldn't put that past you.
Richard Dongle. Okay, so now that we've gone all the way off topic, Warframe.
Warframe, yes.
You showed
yes.
me this game.
What?
You showed me this game.
I did, yes. Actually, I remember Total Biscuit actually reviewing it in a little thing of like a few months ago, pre whatever. Uh-huh. And I have the same opinion of it now as I did then. Looks cool. Looks pretty fun. Looks like it would get boring really fast.
Especially so when we played it like, I guess, I don't know if you can switch difficulties or not, but by the way, okay, so here's the thing. The UI needs a lot of work.
It does.
Because
actually.
It is
certain confusing. Parts of it need a lot of work. Yeah. It's weird. It's almost like they've there's been different teams working on different parts of the UI, kind of. Like, there's times where you're like in the menus, and the menus look fine, and they look like they've been polished and blah blah. And then there's times where like you're looking at like this solar system and different areas you can go because you pick like these different parts of a planet sector that you run missions in, and it looks like it was done in Microsoft Paint. It's really strange, and it's laid over a solar system which is really beautifully rendered, but it's strange. I don't know what the deal is, but at the same time, they're putting in stuff like they release these new mods that look like playing cards, like tradable cards, kind of, except they're not tradable, right? Yeah, and
nothing in that game is tradable.
What?
Nothing in that game is tradable.
Yeah, I think that's actually a symptom of it being free to play. Yeah. But the cards themselves, the images on them are 3D. They look kind of cool, but they're very minor. And I'm like, why are you spending your time on that when you could be upgrading the UI? Which, I code, and sometimes it's very difficult to say, that may have been something that took them an extra hour and a half. Who knows? Mm-hmm. It might have been really low-hanging fruit. I don't know.
Well, okay, here's the thing. They had to do that with every card, though.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Which I don't know how many cards there are. There may only be 60 cards at the moment.
A lot of cards.
Also, the thing is, when you're running a team, sometimes there's team members which, depending on what you're working on, they don't have much to do. So you're still paying them, right? So you're like, you know what? You can do this, work on these, and we can get that out there. So I'm not judging on that point. Let's see. The game is, if you haven't seen it, you can go to warframe.com. It's a unique enough name that they got the domain. Kind of cool. The base premise is that you are these ancient warriors things that know how to use the Warframe armor, which is more or less a exoskeleton, which looks more like a cross between armor and biologicals, right?
Slash like a hammerhead shark or a rhinoceros.
Yeah, exactly. The helmets are different. And you always have a sword, a blade of some kind. Mm-hmm. And then you can have a primary firearm, which can be like an assault rifle or a shotgun type thing, and a sidearm, which you can actually have dual sidearms like I do. You have to buy those. And and that's really it. You go on these missions, which are somewhat randomly generated, and you just kill everything, more or less. And they sprinkle these objectives in there. But that's another thing. The objectives aren't near as as deep as I personally would like them, they don't seem to matter, right? It's always like, oh, just follow the exclamation mark, which is where you're going.
Yeah.
Shoot everything.
Just kill everything, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and you get there, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you need to press this button. Yeah, to turn those two things. Ooh, yes, objective. Now, you need to get back to the extraction point. Shoot everything, right?
Okay, so I think we discussed that at one point it pretty much sounded like the person who's telling you what to do is just genocidal. And you don't know any better than to say, wait, why am I killing this person? Because it doesn't give you any backstory, really. It just says, hey, these people are bad. Go wipe out this space station. They have no clue that you're coming. Go and kill all of them.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Which I feel like just a tactical strike, venting the atmosphere in there would be an easier mission completion than...
Yep. Well, no. It's the mission objective. See, then you couldn't do mission objective, which never seems to matter that much.
Yeah.
Like even the mission objectives in like Counter-Strike make more sense. Like the bomb defusal, you end up camping around a place, trying to keep them from, defusing the bomb, or the VIP thing where all that stuff. There's a point. It requires more time. It requires more. In this, it's just it's like shoot everything, and the objectives are just an excuse for you to shoot everything.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's kind of fun. I mean, in a way.
I went through... Okay, here's the thing, though. I went through the first mission. I didn't realize there was an objective at all. I thought it was just get to the end.
Well, sometimes it is.
Oh, well then.
Well, yeah, like, I don't know if you remember the last game we played together. It was like you go in and there's an objective, and within, 30 seconds, she's like, objectives changed. Kill everything.
Like,
oh, well, there we go.
She is genocidal.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, one thing I will say is that it's pretty good looking.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It uses a lot of blur and shine, and it uses it so much it almost seems almost dreamlike. I don't know if you got that impression. Like it's like
I can see
disconnected from reality a little bit in a way. In fact, I usually turn motion blur off on games mainly because I don't have a top of the line card or anything.
Yeah.
And but on that, I leave it on because actually the engine runs great. I have everything turned all the way up. It looks gorgeous, and it still runs fine, which is amazing.
Oh, nice.
But what was I going to say? One of the things I found was cool is that it is free to play, right? And in a lot of free to play models, they'll have items that you can easily buy with in-game credits, right? Mm-hmm. And then they will either have items that you can't buy, that you can only buy with purchased credits, or they'll have those items where you can also buy them with in-game credits, but they're really expensive. Yeah. And the one thing they do different, which is kind of cool, is as you go in missions, you actually find resources and you pick them up and stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you can buy is you can either buy an item with purchased credits, which I think they call platinum, or you can buy for pretty expensive, but you can buy a blueprint for that same item. But it's not like you just get it. When you get the blueprint, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
If you remember,
you have to create it.
Yeah, you have to create it, which means you have to find all the resources for it. And when you create it, you have to have all the resources, and it costs a bunch of in-game credits to create it, and it takes time. Like this one pack of dual swords I was looking at was going to take 12 hours. And that's after I've ran all the missions and found the resources and paid the in-game credits and blah, blah. So you can get to it, but it's more difficult than just paying for it, obviously. That's the whole free-to-play concept, right? But the interesting thing is there's more of a meta game there, right? Yeah. It's not just like just run enough missions to make enough credits to buy it. It's you have to find stuff and blah, blah. And there's only like 2 to 3 different resource types that are in each planetary system. So if you're looking for a specific type of resource, you have to find which planetary system it's in and run missions in that system, which is kind of cool. It adds a little bit more mechanics there.
Yeah, you're running all over the place trying to find everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're playing the game, you find mods, and you can apply mods to your different weapons and your frame, and they give you special abilities, blah, blah, blah. Beyond that, that's the game. That's the entire... And the whole thing is there's not much to the missions. And again, it's kill everything. Period. I mean, sometimes the actual objective is not kill everything, so technically you can go in, do the objective, and get to the extraction without killing everything, but you have to kill everything you run into, more or less. So yeah, I
Pretty
mean
much.
that's it. It's very much a wash, rinse, repeat game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun, and so you'll play like 3 rounds, and then, as far as me at least, and it seemed you as well, it's kind of like, okay, well, got to go off and do something else now.
Yeah. Hey,
And
I'm gonna go watch porn or something.
I didn't say that, but
Oh.
you might have done that.
I didn't, guys. I'm pure.
Since you got the free Astroglide.
I'm pure.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, but interesting game, fun game. It's in open beta. You can grab it at warframe.com. One of the cool things, if you're on a data cap like me, which most people aren't, AT&T, the download was only what, like 1.2 gig?
Oh yeah, it was very small.
Yeah, very small. And I assumed that I'm like, okay, I'm going to download this and it's going to be a launcher and then let's do this massive patch. No, I did a really small patch. But actually, that's indicative. That's an indication of what we're saying about. It's a very minimal game. There's not much.
Well, and they reuse a lot of resources.
Yeah, exactly. Also, one of the things that bugged me is that I'm really into really cool looking stuff and environments and stuff. And it kind of bugged me that it seemed almost like a waste. Because like the armor and frames, they look really cool. There's a lot of variety to them. The actual environments and stuff look really cool. It's very sci-fi and all this stuff. And it's kind of like, really? So they did all this and this is all it is? That really annoys me. It's like I would love to see a in-depth first-person storyline or something.
Yeah.
Even a more in-depth, multiplayer experience. And maybe they're going that way, right? I mean, it is indie, so obviously the sooner you get it out there, even in beta, the sooner you can start making money on it. I mean, and that's really so. Hopefully, more stuff will come, and the fact that they're indie, they're more open, I'm sure, to future development ideas. So, it may. I would, if you're into quick-paced action and shooters, especially third-person shooters, I would definitely suggest you try it out because it's free to try, and we've both tried, and I haven't bought anything. Have you bought anything? I don't think you have.
No, with what money?
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean it's fun. It's cool.
So it's April Fool's Day.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
I both love and hate it because you get to see some cool stuff like Razer did. They said, oh, we're turning all of our mice into phones. And stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, and Google did their Google Sniff, where you could also search by smell or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there were things that really bother me, like Reddit.
What did Reddit do?
Reddit made it the most annoying, obtrusive, just made me want to, end everything, April 1st deal ever. That and Slashdot. Curse you, Slashdot. They announced oh, haha, Reddit just bought Team Fortress 2. And now everybody is in either the blue or red/orange team. Ha ha ha. And so, I mean, that was obnoxious as is. But then they kind of, because Team Fortress 2 is a hat simulator.
Yes.
So they're just kind of like, hey, you can also then give hats to people. And so the site is running slow the entire the entire day because of this. Literally, once it went away, the site ran perfectly smooth. So I really have started to dislike April 1st. Because then I go on Slashdot, because, I like Slashdot to get some news.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what their April 1st thing was?
What?
Okay, of course everybody is all like, hey, let's put up, some fake, science-y stuff. That'd be great, haha, yeah, that. But then, even if it's a legit news article, they're then also like, hey, but now it's all jumbled letters and you have to click here if you actually want to read it.
Okay, this is a perfect example. I have an issue with almost all April Fool's things, right? And it's mainly because people don't seem to get the whole April Fool's thing. And I think if you're going to get something, it's more or less whatever it is. most popularly considered, right? So I'm probably off here a bit. But in my mind, April Fool's has always been about fooling people. And then after they figure out that they've been fooled, it's funny, right? Yeah. Stuff like making the site do stupid things or making you go through a puzzle, like you were just talking about, that's not fooling someone. That's annoying them.
Obnoxious.
Right. It's just making stuff difficult. That's not fooling someone. I've actually had this issue for a while, right? Is that like when I was at DeviantArt, one of the things I didn't like is that April Fools were always unbelievable. And in my mind, if you're going to do something that people are just going to automatically is so extreme, they're not going to believe it, then you're not fooling them.
Yeah.
And right. I always wanted to do stuff that was believable. Like people would be like, "No, really? Oh no," I mean, and then you tell them haha, or somebody goes, it's April 1st, and they're like, "Oh wow," and they get it. But all these places do stuff like you're talking about, or they do stuff that's so extreme. It's like Google did the whole YouTube being an 8-year contest and it's shutting down. No one's believing that, really. It's become almost a Super Bowl ad thing. Who can do the best conceptual thing? It's not really about fooling people. And I've always the ones that I really respect are the ones that are like actually fool people, where you're like going, "Oh crap, what the hell?" And you're like spreading the link to people going, "Have you seen this?" And then somebody finally goes, "It's April Fool's," and you're like, "Oh God, I'm so gullible." Those are the good ones. So the whole supercomputer thing in New Mexico being shut down. Actually,
it's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad, but I think it's kind of cool at the same time. I mean, obviously, they're saying it eats too much energy and it's too expensive. Understand that completely. But actually, I kind of think it's cool at the same time that, it may be somewhat political pressure, because the current administration is pushing on the energy efficiency thing, right? And it's kind of,
I don't know, because it's New Mexico. Why can't you just throw up some, solar panels and... kind of bring the energy down a bit.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Did you actually read it?
I did.
It said that for it to hit what it needed, right? It had to let's see, it was pulling. Of course, it's going to take me a million.
Just hook it up to the Hoover Dam or something.
Yeah.
Just hook it straight up to it. Overclock it.
It's called Roadrunner, right?
Yeah.
In 2012, the ratings. For it to hit 1.042 petaflops, it took 2,300 kilowatts. Okay? The one right behind it, in number 23, for it to hit 1.035, which is just barely under it, it only used 1,100 kilowatts. Less than half. That's a serious drop. I mean, massive.
Well, and when it lost its first place.
No, I'm sorry. That was 21. The 23, which clocked at 1.35, only used 493 kilowatts. It's unbelievable difference. Anyway, go ahead.
When it lost its top spot in 2009, the thing does 1.76 petaflops, and now it's 17.6 petaflops, which is 10 times.
When it got added to Titan, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's massive.
I mean, that's crazy. But I'm just saying, why can't we just hook this thing up to the Hoover Dam and let it start running?
Because the Hoover
the
Dam
best milkshake recipes.
That's funny. Yeah, I think the Hoover Dam is pretty much in use.
They can spare something.
It's only powering a sixth
put
of
some
the country.
Solar panels on the Hoover Dam, and wind turbines.
Wind turbines, yeah, that would be fun. But no, I mean, they'll do newer ones that are more energy efficient, and that's awesome. And I think, I think that progress like that is good. I mean, I think that it's a good step to take.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh no, definitely, it's great.
So, did you hear about YouTube? They're actually offering at the GDC that they announced new APIs that game developers can use to actually stream gameplay content on the fly to YouTube.
See, now, is that going to allow any gamer to stream, or just certain people?
Well, I think the goal is they can put it in the game so that when you're playing the game, whoever you are, as long as you have a YouTube account, which is a Google account, right?
Yeah.
That you can stream. And
I am saying no to this.
Why?
Because, okay, you should know my reason why.
because
people are going to be obnoxious.
Well, of course they're always obnoxious. That's not going to stop that.
Like,
You know who I feel bad for about this?
total
Twitch
bullshit.
TV.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, they had a nice run. Ustream, Twitch TV, all of them.
Yeah, but Twitch TV is specifically for gaming. You know? And I'm sure that they won't go away, but this is going to hit them pretty hard.
Oh, very hard.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is, like, you know, you're gonna have, you know, and there's gonna be some people who are like, you know, use it great and everything like that. But then there's gonna be the people who are gonna be like, hey, check out my 360 no scope 420 for life video.
Well, yeah, that's a stupid thing to say. I was about to say we don't know that you'll be able to save the videos, but obviously you will. I think that there's still going to be a stark difference, not Tony Stark, stark difference between the content that comes off of stuff like this and more professional
oh, definitely,
game channels. You know, because people like, you know, Total Biscuit, who actually doesn't do gameplay stuff as much, but you know, like Side Strafe and OMGF Kata and you know, everybody out there, they do gameplay stuff and they edit it, you know, and they have certain goals so that episodes aren't boring and all types of things, right? And they usually only put stuff out that is actually entertaining to watch, if that makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
the more successful ones. So I think that there's still going to be, it's not going to all mesh. And as long as it all meshes, I don't mind other stuff being out there. I just don't want other stuff to mess up what I watch, and I do watch a lot of that type of content.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering.
I think it's a great move on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna bring in so many more, you know, people, and I can totally see this as, you know, oh, you know, buy a premium YouTube account and you can have more video space.
Oh, sure. Well, they're also, you know, launching the subscription thing where you can pay to subscribe to a specific channel.
Yeah.
Which they announced last year, I believe. So.
I'm wondering if it's going to handle like the encoding and streaming server side, or if it's going to have to be your computer.
Well, obviously they're going to have to do some encoding on the fly, because if you're running in 1080p, they're not going to stream that. Most people's uplink connections can't handle 1080p streaming. No way. So they're going to have to encode it at some point there and before they send it. But I think it's probably going to be anything like, they're going to probably do it exactly. It's probably going to be exactly like Twitch TV or Ustream or Livestream do it, except that instead of you running a third-party application, it's built into the game.
Huh.
So, cool. But I mean, the encoding is going to have to be done. At least part of the encoding is going to have to be done locally, because you can't send that raw video.
I guess. I was just thinking
you've recorded stuff off Fraps. You know how big it is.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Definitely. I guess I was just thinking is, you know, if they're looking to try and make it a bit more accessible to people, if they would say like, okay, you encode this bit, or like you do this part, and then we'll handle the rest, or something like that, you know?
Well, they did say in the article that they will handle the different encoding required for different level of viewers, right? So they get a source from you, but you still have to encode the source. There's no way for them to get it from you without you sending it. And if you have to send it, you have to be able to send it, right? Which means you have to encode it. So, and probably it's Google, and they're usually pretty good at making stuff pretty painless. So it probably, their API probably handles in encoding what it has to, you know, to make it as good a deal as possible. What I find interesting about the whole thing is that, is that on things like shooters and stuff, it will impact latency, because you're using up a piece of the pipe. But anyone who's going to stream the stuff anyway is going to have that issue anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. The only way they wouldn't is if they recorded it then uploaded it.
Sure. Yeah. Now, one thing that I like is I'm a social media buff, right? So I think that this actually makes gaming even a little bit more social, which is really cool. What I'm really interested in is how much of I haven't got to look at it yet, but I'm interested in what the API supports as far as bi-directional stuff, right? I mean, is if you're a viewer on the channel, and obviously the content is live, is there a way for you to chat or say something to the person playing, like they have with Twitch? And
I think they're going to incorporate Google Hangouts then.
Yeah, it would have to be like a different feature, obviously, because the person who's playing the game probably won't be able to view something else. It'll have to be something that's overlaid on the screen,
I guess.
But one of the cool things about that is that they could easily overlay something on the screen but not stream the overlay, right? So they could do it where they could see it but no one else sees it, etc. But yeah, so I think it'll be good. I've actually been surprised, to be honest, that it's taken YouTube/Google this long to even start supporting live streaming. I mean, because they didn't even start supporting live streaming at all till like last year, right? Or late year before last, and it was
it was late 2011, and it was really buggy.
And it's still select. I think I don't think you can just stream something live. You have to do something special.
Well, what they do now is it's called like Google Air or something like that.
One thing I've actually been surprised that Google hasn't done yet is when it comes to gaming and recording, which this may be a step towards that.
Yeah.
The only thing, I mean, there's other solutions, but the only thing that people really use, I mean, like hardcore, is Fraps. Again, there's some other stuff. Actually, Total Biscuits mentioned that he used some other stuff, but it's really difficult to set up. You can't just, Fraps is like it, and Fraps is not perfect at all. It's got major issues with it, and I'm really surprised where the majority of the destination for content coming off of Fraps based content is YouTube. Really blown away that
they haven't done something.
That they haven't provided their own solution. It's really wild. I mean, I'm just surprised. It's so maybe this is like a first step, because obviously the encoding technology is pretty much the exact thing that they would use in a standalone solution, right? Still has to encode it. So, who knows? We'll see.
I tried using like the Procaster from like Livestream and everything, and it was very difficult to set up.
It's what I think that it would be very strange, actually, for Google to release this API and not here soon release a standalone that you can use to stream games that don't support it natively. But also, I'll be really surprised if that app doesn't allow you to record to the disk like Fraps does. It just or like, which I guess they wouldn't buy Fraps, because why would they need to? What Fraps does is not that difficult. I mean, assuming you have the resources to employ the right people, and they already have people.
Google does.
Well, I mean, obviously the engineers which work on the encoding stuff server side, stuff like that, it's a lot of it's the same meat core. So anyway, I think it's great overall. I think it's not very great for Twitch, and I hope it wasn't something like Google tried to acquire Twitch and they said no, because I think that would be kind of a bad decision.
I would just laugh.
Google, and they could just do it themselves, which they have.
So Bush now is saying,
cool guy, actually. Go ahead.
He's what?
He's a pretty cool guy. Go ahead.
He looks like a cool guy. He looks like a guy with stories.
Yeah, he does. Go ahead.
But he's saying that mobile games are over.
I think he's wrong.
Yeah. Well,
and I have to say, I'm not a mobile game fan, but I think he's wrong.
Well, and I'm not that much either. Like, okay, it is rare for me to get excited over a mobile game. It's rare for me to get excited over a game. But Ingress, the thing that Google came out with, has me like hoping and wishing that it keeps going, because I think that's the coolest thing ever.
You want to something completely off topic?
Yes.
In the Ingress trailer they did, at least the one where it shows one, the guy towards the end that they show, and he's like looking up at stuff, he's wearing a backpack, and it's a DeviantArt backpack.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I was like, whoa, is that the DA logo? And I'm like, wow. And I backed up. I'm like, it is. And then they showed it again at the very end. It was just kind of cool. Yeah.
But I think one of the cool things, he says mobile games are over, and he sees Google Glass and Oculus Rift as the next big thing. Well, here's the thing: who's to say that Google Glass can't incorporate games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's going to be a different type of game. I mean, it's a different market. I mean, you're talking about augmented reality type stuff and things like that. But I mean, it's a completely different market. Well, I mean, example, okay. You're not going to
for Google Glass and Ingress to come together so I can actually see the portals and then battle portal demons.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, you're not going to get, I mean, like now, I mean, if you're talking about like Google Glass version 4, okay, great. But in the version of Google Glass that's right now, I mean, you're not going to get I'll use a common thing that people are familiar with. You're not going to get a Halo or Gears of War experience.
Oh,
right?
I know that.
Or something like that. It's a different segment of gaming, right? It's actually a segment that's in its infancy. You know, you're talking about augmented reality, things like that. Really awesome, and there's so much potential there. But I don't think it'll de-seat mobile gaming or console gaming.
All.
That, yeah, not at all. I mean, I think that there's enough room there for it to grow that it could de-seat those if it was the exact same market, but it's not. It's a completely different segment of the gaming market, right? There's some people who just won't be interested in that at all, but even the people who are, they can do both.
So, question.
Sure.
This goes back to the whole phones running games thing. Where do you think it goes from mobile gaming to handheld gaming?
Well, for me,
or are they one and the same?
Well, for me, and I'm not an expert on this area, and I don't mind that I'm not. Don't really want to be. Handheld gaming is a thing where the handheld is for gaming purposes only.
Okay.
Like, example, I've never really enjoyed a game on a mobile device.
Yeah.
However, I've really enjoyed a game on the PSP. But the difference is the PSP has tactile controls.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it feels like a controller. It's just the screen's in the middle of your fingers as opposed to up on a screen. And trust me, after a few minutes, you don't really notice the difference, right? You know? I mean, I remember one time when I was still working in Los Angeles, I was flying from Los Angeles to Dallas, which is about 3 hours and 50 minutes. And I was smoking at the time still, so like the nicotine withdrawal during was bad. And I remember I got in the plane and we hadn't even started taxing off the thing, and I didn't even have a PSP at the time, but I borrowed one from a friend because I'm like, I'm going to be on the plane. And I started up, a Ratchet and Clank game, which I'm a huge fan of the Ratchet and Clank franchise. And like the next thing I know, we're landing, and I was like, holy crap, right? And I didn't even notice it go by. That was awesome. That was handheld gaming because I was literally gaming in my hand. That was it. The whole mobile virtual control stuff, not my deal at all.
So I guess when it comes to controls, because there are phones now and screens now where they can actually push up a bit to have tactile buttons.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think here's the deal.
I mean, that's
actually
an
answer your
actual
question.
thing.
I think this is it. I think handheld gaming, right, is where you're taking a game with you so you can play it.
Okay.
In your hand. Where I think mobile gaming, and this is my opinion, of course, is that's where you have a device which is mobile because you keep it with you anyway, but you can also play games on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's
that
not really
sense.
for games, and so you're not taking it with you for the games in most cases.
Yeah.
So it's a phone or it's a tablet because you're using it for other things as well. But I mean, like on a PSP and even a PS Vita, I mean, like on a PS Vita, you can do web stuff and you can do a little bit of that on the PSP, but that was like nothing. Hardly any of it was that. It was primarily to play games. That's why it had tactile controls. That's why it used up so much of the size. It was bigger and it had most of the size had actual controls. It had a D stick and all types of stuff. So yeah. I mean, that's
the reason I ask is just because, when he says mobile games are over, it makes me curious because, okay, so the next, the Galaxy S4, I think it has, a 5-inch screen? Or something like that, something crazy, and it goes up to, 64 gigs without SD card, I think is what it goes up to. And so, I mean, that just goes on to the whole, I think it's 2. It has quad-core processor, Snapdragon, I believe it is. 2 gigs of RAM. So then, what's to say that mobile gaming can't, that could perfectly run a Pokemon game or Ratchet and Clank and all that kind of stuff. That could run it and stuff on a 5-inch screen. So then, my thought is, well, if the next S, design has, the screen that the buttons can pop up. What's to say that your mobile can't be your handheld as well, And I guess would that still be considered mobile gaming because it's on a cell phone, or would it be like, well, no, that's a handheld game, stuff like that,
I think really the line is blurred. right?
Yeah.
I mean, uh, in my mind, it's like, is this device created especially for gaming,
Mhm.
or is this device just also good at gaming,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and really, there aren't very many devices out there that are created especially for gaming. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think Sony's about the only one hanging on, and Nintendo, right? The DS
Mhm.
series, and so and probably the Nvidia Shield, but that's
Yeah.
that's not even really as mobile gaming as much as it is streaming gaming in a local
Mhm.
area. So, but yeah, I mean, so I think that even with Sony, I would be surprised if we see another handheld gaming platform from Sony after Vita.
I would totally get a Vita if it had more PSN support.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, I mean, it might eventually. I think that, well,
if it does,
that's an
awesome.
entirely that's another subject for another show. But
Yeah.
Sony's handling of PSN has been uh,
Or
disappointing because there's so much potential there to be done.
oh yeah.
So anyway,
Well, I think that wraps up
yeah. And now you only have to what? You only have to
2 hours
move what 2 hours down to what, an hour?
yeah, 45 minutes maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have like some cool outro song or something like?
No, actually, no. But I was thinking about that. But there are some places where you can get some good stuff, especially in some of the LPs I watch.
Oh, yeah?
So actually, I will find one of those places and send it to you.
Are you saying that my mouth noises aren't good enough?
No, 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 no. If you want to do the mouth because that's fine. I thought you were just giving an example.
Oh, heard it here. He doesn't approve of my mouth noises.
I did not say that. I said I misunderstood your goal.
I am just joshing your taters, good sir.
You stay away from my taters.
It's too late. I've already.
By the way, just out of curiosity, have you've seen the new Unreal Engine 4
Yes.
demo? Pretty cool.
Have you seen Battlefield 4?
Yes, I have. Interesting. However, the Unreal Engine 4 thing that really interests me
Mhm.
is the fact that it's running on a 650,
Hmm.
which is available now and has been for a while. One card you can buy right now. That's wild. I mean, like to
Yeah.
actually see that. You see that, and you're like, okay, so how many cards are they running that on, and what type
Yeah.
of prototype tech did they get from Nvidia to show? No, that's running on a card you can buy right now.
Awesome.
I mean, it costs you like $600, but most high-end cards do. So, yeah, really wild. In fact, it's weird because stuff like the Oculus Rift
Yeah.
and hopefully the next generations of that stuff that even has better latency, better low latency,
Yeah.
mixed with the type of visuals we're seeing in like Unreal Engine 4 and what will eventually become Unreal Engine 5. I mean, like I can actually start seeing stuff that it's not, but stuff that's closer to the visuals of like Holodeck, which is just awesome.
Mhm.
Oh man, the sex simulators. No,